The same thing for the corporate ruling class, the legislative ruling class, the media ruling class. They all say you can't be trusted with your own responsibility for your own protection. But at the same time, they say that they completely abdicate their responsibility to protect you. They refuse to prosecute and put away the bad guys. So what this country ends up with is a jailhouse revolving door that spins, take them in, turn them out, and it's open season on the rest of us. And you know that's true. Hurricane Katrina should have taught this nation that the elites who say they'll protect everyone won't protect anyone. Those hurricane victims couldn't count on the police, electricity, phones. You couldn't call 911. But they could count on the looters, the rapists, the robbers, who all arrived right on time. And that's when the ruling class in New Orleans ordered troops door to door to confiscate from the good guys the firearms that they needed to protect themselves right when they needed those guns the most. They took them away from them. We got footage of it. Kicking in doors, body slamming 70-year-old grandmothers to the floor in their kitchens. You've seen the footage. Where's the outrage? When the New Orleans ruling class realized how bad it made them look, you know what they did? They conspired with the media ruling class to bury the story. So Americans all over this country never saw footage of the first forced gun confiscation in American history. But if a cop roughs up an armed criminal, those national news media conglomerates will run that video footage over and over and over until you're sick of it. And we all know why. Deep down inside, the ruling class doesn't like street cops either. Let's talk about the legislative ruling class that fights our castle doctrine laws, like you have here in Kentucky. Because they say if you had full responsibility for your own protection, well, you might take unfair advantage of the armed thugs jacked up on meth who just smashed down your patio door with a pavestone. Nah, the legislative ruling class has rules that you have to follow before you can use deadly force against the armed thugs ransacking your living room. You know, I've talked to victims of home invasion. You probably have too, all of you here this morning. And they all say the same thing. There's a split second of total terror that spells life or death for you. But the ruling class says you gotta take time during that split second to think through their checklist of all the options you got to exhaust before you can lawfully use force against the armed intruders who are now at your bedroom door. You have to jump out a window or run to the door or hide under a bed or find some other way to retreat before you can hurt the bad guys. Now, that sounds like a really good law if you're a home invading criminal. But the NRA's castle doctrine says your home is your castle. You don't have to retreat. You can stand your ground. NRA had to fight the same elite conceit when the airline ruling class refused to let pilots be armed after 9/11. Here's why. And they actually said this. Because with a gun, a pilot might be dangerous. But wait, he's flying the airplane. Doesn't the pilot already have the life of every passenger in his or her hands? Well, the same elite conceit of America's corporate ruling class says employees can't take responsibility for their own protection. Factory workers, pizza delivery guys, convenience store clerks, taxi cab drivers, assembly line employees. The corporate elites deny all of them a firearm for self-defense. Rich corporate lawyers don't care about invisible second and third shift workers who come and go in pitch black parking lots in the middle of the night. But a self-defense gun securely encased in their vehicle, they're fired on the spot. The elites say gun bans in workers' parking lots create a sense of security, safety. But no one's safer, you all know it here this morning, except the criminal in that parking lot. Two truths must be told. The first truth is almost no workplace homicide is worker on coworker. It's almost all armed robbery, almost all of it. The second truth is that the corporate ruling class could care less about these workers. Murdered pizza boys, cab drivers, convenience store clerks are just collateral damage, a cost of doing business. And that's how the corporate ruling class negates the Second Amendment rights of their obedient workers. I say no breadwinner should ever be forced to choose. Do I save my life or do I lose my job? The idea that anyone is safer by giving away the right of self-protection is pure fantasy, and it's a deadly fantasy. But for nearly 30 years, the municipal ruling class of Washington, D.C. has made that deadly fantasy the law. Guns are banned. Now, tell me, does an armed homeowner make his home more dangerous? Or do disarmed homeowners make D.C. more dangerous? I want to meet the brainiac who truly believes that when meth addicts kick in your door at 2 a.m., society is somehow better off if you're armed with nothing but a cell phone in one hand and a chia pet in the other. I want to meet that person. Because with the reasoning that only a third-generation inbred elite can grasp, D.C. says citizens can only seek safety in the supremacy of the government, not the individual. In return, D.C., their lawful citizens, are served up a daily dose of bloody gunplay and violent crime that is often the worst in the nation.